You'll probably like new Andrex because it's beautifully soft.
Those puppies have got a sick sense of humour. Nevertheless, welcome back to our celebration of advertising. A profession which George Orwell described as the rattling of a stick inside a swill bucket. Or was that a bargain bucket? Anyway, if, like me, you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, join our club, which tonight is proudly debating some exceedingly good ads. The 100 best, in fact.
The Andrex ads are a real testament to the extraordinary things that British people will find cute. Because if you look at the raw materials of the advert, it doesn't really speak to me of cute. You know, it's got, well, toilet roll is heavily featured, bog roll, whose normal associations are with 70s football hooliganism and rather unpleasant bodily functions.
But there's another reason for liking new Andrex.
It's got clearly a mad dog in it as well, who's become entangled in bog roll, knocking over some priceless family heirlooms. And everyone's delighted.
New Andrex. It goes a long, long way.
It was in a studio in Notting Hill. As I was being made up, I had this overwhelming nausea come over me, and I was sick for most of the day.
Stale smells up here often come from down there in your carpet.
Every time I went off set, I was being ill. I was not very well at all. So if I look a bit manic in the advert, that's why.
It's all you have to do.
I was not very well, and leaping about up and down didn't actually make me feel any better.
Do the shake and back and put the freshness back. Do the shake and back and put the freshness back.
The shake and vac advertisement is bad, and I think everybody would agree with this, and probably not the people who made it or paid for it would agree with it, but I think most of the viewers would agree with it. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to acquire cult status, and this very often can happen. Something can become so bad that it becomes good again in some bizarre way.
It's fantastic. And again, it's slagged off by the business and people saying, oh, it's so bad it's good. You get all that silliness again. But name me two other famous carpet cleaners.
When your carpet smells fresh, your room does too. Every time you vacuum, remember what to do.
The most difficult shot, I suppose, was the actual sprinkling of the powder on the floor. There were 3 holes in it. Now, in order to get this wonderful zigzag, if you just shake it backwards and forwards, sort of sideways, it doesn't work. You have to go up and down as well. So you have to do the dance. Otherwise, you don't get the powder out in the right way. So
she's definitely a dirty woman. You know what I mean? With all her skirts and her flicks, and she's doing all that on the carpet. And I just think that she's just hiding the evidence of a suburban gangbang before her poor rep husband Roger comes home to his lovely wife and his semi.
Do the shake and back and put the freshness back. Do the shake and back and put the freshness back. When your carpet smells fresh, your room does too. Every time you vacuum, remember what to do. Do the shake and back and put the freshness back.
Black Label. Your best bet for a fuller flavour.
Carling Black Label.
I'd like to buy the world a home and furnish it with love. Grow apple trees and honey bees and snow white turtle doves.
I was working in Italy as a nanny, and I was sitting in a cafe, and somebody came up and asked me if I'd like to be part of an advert. I had no idea what it was about till I think it was about a week later. Then I had to go to a hotel and learn a song for about for 3 hours, and I can't sing, hardly sing a note, so 3 hours of listening to a tape and then doing a song. And then the next day we went to the Pony Club in Italy and had to stand on boxes. I think there were 4 of us, and they filmed us singing I'd Like to Teach the World to Sing.
I'd like to teach the world to sing. Sing with me. Perfect harmony. Perfect harmony. I like to ride the world along and keep it company.
I had no conception of what the rest of the advert was like. I didn't even know there was a huge crowd scene, there was multinationals, I didn't know anything. I mean, it was just a day of work, really, for some extra cash to go travelling.
To buy the world a coat and keep it company is the real thing. What the world wants today is the real thing.
Football, football, football. We get nothing but football, morning, noon and night.
Shut up.
Parklife advert was filmed on Hackney Marshes, because Hackney Marshes is a very famous area where people play Sunday League football and have for years and years. We foolishly try to keep the whole thing a secret, you know. And then, of course, within, I don't know, by the second morning, there was photographs all over the back of the Daily Mirror, and kids were coming from everywhere. Eric Cantona gets out of his trailer, you know, and he walks into this crowd dressed in a Pub 11 football shirt and lines up next to these roofers and postmen. Mr. David Seaman, he turned up, he was there for about an hour, just turned up and palmed a ball over the crossbar and left. Ian Wright got the most kind of affection, had the most affection from the players, the other player, the non-professional. The thing that surprised me, they were just completely generous with everybody.
Confidence is a preference for the habitual voyeur of what is known as. A morning suit can be avoided if you take a route straight through what is known as. John's got brewer's group, he gets intimidated by the dirty pigeons. They love a bit of him. Who's that gut lord marching? You should cut down on your pork life, mate. Get some exercise.
These guys would go home that night and say, I play with Ian Wright today, or I play with Eric Cantona today. I passed the ball to Eric Cantona.
Hello?
Anthony? Oh, congratulations on your exam results.
Grandma, I failed.
You failed? What do you mean you failed?
I mean I failed. Maths, English, physics, geography, German, woodwork, art. I failed.
You didn't pass anything?
Pottery.
Pottery? Very useful. Anthony, people will always need plates. Anything else?
And sociology.
An ology? He gets an ology and he says he's failed. You get an ology, you're a scientist.
Whether it's well done or hard luck, a phone call says a lot.
The most brilliant boys, the teachers who are wrong, you know, they can't mark. A lot of them can't see.
Hello. I wonder if you can help me. I'm looking for a book called Fly Fishing by J.R. Hart.
Is this a joke?
Oh, no. No, I've seen it advertised on television. Fly Fishing by J.R. Hartley. Must be very popular, because the chap in the advert couldn't find it anywhere.
My name? Oh, yes. It's J.R. Hartley.
I don't suppose you have a copy of Fly Fishing by J.R. Hartley. It is rather old.
So much advertising is punch, 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 and noise, music that's unnecessary, loud music that's unnecessary, and J.R. Hartley always came over as a lovely, quiet pause in it all, you know.
I don't suppose you have a copy of Fly Fishing by J.R. Hartley. It is rather old. It's by J.R. Hartley.
I pictured this gentle old boy, an author. He'd written a book and probably loaned his master copy to a friend.
There's still a few more to try.
Good old yellow pages. We don't just help with the nasty things in life, like a blocked drain. We're there for the nice things, too.
You do? Oh, that's wonderful. Can you keep it for me? My name, oh yes, it's J.R. Hartley.
It was made in 1983 and ran for 8 years before a wily publisher thought that this chap's going out so often, there's money in there, he's becoming a national figure almost. Best wishes, J.R. Hartley. As one of the newspapers at the time said, J.R. Hartley's biggest catch has been the public's imagination. And that's how you can put it, I suppose.
Right. Let's see what sort of swing you've got.
I really feel he's taken me over. Honestly, I feel more J.R. Hartley than I do Norman Lumsden these days.
I think I'm going to enjoy this.
Papa?
If you watch a lot of French movies, as I have, they're all structured around father and daughter relationships. So at one level, this concertina's one strand of French cinema history. But what's really smart about it, and I do think it's smart in some ways, although it wants to make me upchuck in others, is that actually it's not discrete. You know, like Dickens learnt to, as it were, live across time, so you got a story going across 2 years. This ad develops.
Well, now you've found it, because while the Clio is certainly small, it's perfectly formed.
Foreigners can be presented on screen providing they match up to the stereotypic image we have of that particular country. Well, everybody in this country knows that French people are hopelessly romantic, amazingly sexy, fantastically virile and potent. All the girls are beautiful and all the men are handsome and all the fathers are distinguished. And this very much plays on these stereotypic roles.
Nicole?
Papa?
I hated those people for some reason. They seemed so self-obsessed and French, I suppose. And it was just not... Did they sell Clio cars? Perhaps they did. I hope they did, but it just seemed inappropriate. I didn't think anyone would make a sort of romantic getaway in a Clio Renault car. Too small.
The English, even more than the British, have had a love-hate relationship with the French, which means that the Clio ad played only in Britain, because this is the only place it would make sense. It's difficult not to admire their chic and to loathe it simultaneously. And the best ads, like the best culture, play with us. They seduce us and then undermine, as it were, our expectations. And I think the Clio ad does that for the English, you know, who are only separated from France by 21 miles, but actually, emotionally, by a very long distance indeed.
Nicole! Nicole! Bob?
Papa?
Nicole.
Nicole! Yes!
Just come to fix your drip, Miss Janet.
Thank you, Mr. Exley. I don't know what I'd do without you.
Leonard was a great close friend, and he said to me one day, "What's it like getting this you-know-who? How do you live with it? What's it really like?" I said, "It's like a mortgage, education fees for 3 children, a home for my ex-wife, a home for my parents, and a home for myself. That's what it's actually like."
You look very bewitching tonight, Miss Janet.
Oh, Mr. Exley.
I said, "It might, if you're not very careful. It could happen to you one of these days."
Io Cinzano bianco, signora.
I think the original idea was trying to do sort of humorous spoofs on what was the Beautiful People type commercial, which Martini was famous for. The original scripts were ludicrous. They had Sean Connery and Woody Allen. None of those people would have ever done a commercial. So we got rid of those scripts when they were given to me. And Leonard Rossiter was involved, and I remember going round to his house, and we kind of agreed that actually the script was absolute rubbish.
Boring. Oh, sorry.
So Leonard said, what I'd like to do is the old musical joke. And we said, what's that? So he picked up his cup of tea that we were sitting there in his living room, and he looked at his watch, and he turned the cup, and he said, you know, that joke. So we said, oh, that's a very good joke, particularly if it happened to be Joan Collins that you were spilling it on.
Can't you just smell those Italian wines, suffused with herbs and spices from 4 continents? I'm being boring. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Getting your head down, sweetie. Jolly good idea.
Leonard Rossiter, from the theatre, difficult. He felt he was the main man. He was the artist of the two, you know, and he would choreograph himself. I know the previous director had difficulty with him, and I tried to spend some time with him just to diffuse what I thought might be some awkward situations. And there was. I mean, in he said, I'm doing this movement and that movement, and it'd be nice for the camera to see this and see that. And I said, well, Leonard, I'm going to cut to your foot going in the tiger skin on the floor. And he said, oh, I don't want to see, but they won't see what I'm doing with the rest of me.
Melissa! Mr. Yakitori and his aides?
Yokoso.
No, sweetie, Japanese.
Joan was thoroughly professional, and she got the idea straight away. I mean, she was very intelligent and absolutely unpretentious.
We just ordered our traditional drink.
There was great respect between them. They'd worked together wonderfully well, and this was a successful campaign. But he used to refer to her as the prop.
Oh! I think they like you, Marissa.
It worked. Boy, did it work. Because there was a period of time when the commercials were by far and away the most interesting thing you could see that evening on television. They were infinitely more entertaining than the programmes in those days.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Getting your head down, sweetie. Jolly good idea.
Cinzano Bianco.
Just look at the time. Talk follows tick, follows talk, follows tick. Yes, it's well after 8, Mr. Ambassador. But we're nearly there, inside the top 10 TV commercials of all time. Just one more break before we make haste and rise to the summit, the very peak and elite of TV ads.
Connect with Sony, and you connect with a whole new world.
I dream of going first class.
I dream of the perfect body.
I dream of my own little plot.
We dream of a bit more space.
More space.
My dream? To see the world.
The National Lottery game. Have you got your dream ticket?
They shine, they shimmer, they're sheer fun. The latest Sense XL razor collection from Gillette for women in 3 icy cool colours. Why should shaving be dull? If you want to feel incredibly smooth, get Sense XL Smooth. And have fun.
Quinolol Digestion Plus. A little chicory makes a big difference.
I know I'd go from a rise to the chase if you would only say you care. And so
Because Reuters are one of the largest and most trusted information providers for the net, every private investor can feel confident making their own decisions.
And now, we're proud to present the greatest ad of all time.
If your message isn't getting to the right people at the right time, it doesn't matter how good it is.
So, we're almost there. We've put on our red braces, we've placed our product, we ran it up the flagpole, and you saluted. In short, the men from Del Monte have all said yes.
Doors opening. Going up.
Now it's time to tap it, unwrap it, and reveal the creme de la creme, the top of the pot noodle. Those 10 unforgettable ads created by men and women who must have had 3 shredded wheat on the day of their creation.
I think things go through certain waves, you know, like whereas in the 70s you had like blaxploitation, and like now I guess you could argue there's a queersploitation going on. At the time the Impulse ad came out, I think there was a real feeling in the society at that time that, you know, gay was more acceptable, it was more mainstream, it was just on the cusp of film, like TV shows like Queer as Folk about to come out. There were a few stereotypes that were thrown in as cutaways to the ad, like you'd see Quentin Crisp sat there, you know, and baby dog with leather on it. But I think the positives far outweigh the negatives.
When I first got approached by Walkers, I was still trying to play football in Japan, albeit spasmodically, I have to say. And my agent got hold of me and said that when you come home, they want to do a special ad and to sort of celebrate the fact. I was outside the station, Leicester Station, shooting this bit with a newspaper vendor. And there were a lot of people watching, as you can imagine, in the town centre. A little old lady comes over to me and she taps me on the shoulder. She says, are you Gary Lineker? I said, yeah, that's right. She says, well, I thought it was. He said, what's going on here? Are they expecting anybody special?
The twist we gave it was he was known as Mr. Nice Guy because he'd never been booked in all his career. We thought it'd be interesting to turn him into a nasty guy who pinched crisps because they were so irresistible.
Welcome home. Welcome. Come on in and close the door.
Well, Walkers are part of PepsiCo, obviously an American company, and I think when they first went to them with the idea, I think A, they didn't know who the hell I was, and B, they thought, how can you do this thing where he's actually taking the chance crisps at the end? This is an incredibly cruel ending.
They said you can't have an English sporting hero being a thief. Come on. And we said, everyone will know it's a joke. You don't have to worry about it. Oh, you can't do that. And they tried to force us to shoot the ending where he gives the crisps back to the kid, but we ignored that.
There's no more Mr. Nice Guy.
They still can't understand how we did it and how English people don't go against him because he pinches kids' crisps.
I've done ads with the Spice Girls. I did one with Ulrika Johnson, which was particularly tough, having to line top of her for half a day. And Gazza, likewise, we did one with him. I remember they put this contraption in where it came over his ears and right under his eyes, and it spurted out the water. Well, when they initially did it and we started, we just couldn't do it for laughing. It was just hilarious.
He's very natural, you know, and he's not an actor, but gradually he's got more and more confident, and, you know, he's as good as any actor that I work with now. He's just fair, and he knows exactly what to do. He knows how to hold the crisp perfectly, and, you know, and he won't be ever caught with a packet of Golden Wonder. You know that about Gary.
When we did those early Hamlet commercials, they were always the most fun things to do because there was no set of rules. You know, in the end, you just took what was the most ridiculous or wonderful situation, and then there was suddenly the product at the end of it.
Happiness is a cigar called Hamlet.
But I think that, you know, we were using humour and in a way that no one else was, and so the commercials stuck out.
It is that thing of when something goes wrong, this was satisfaction, this would get you over the hump. Always the best campaign ideas in advertising is when it's very simple and where you can put it into any area. You can borrow from any area, whether it's films, theatre, real life.
Happiness is a cigar called Hamlet, the mild cigar.
Don't start the talking. I could talk all night.
We went down to Wardour Street, to a cave in Wardour Street. So I took my son, Elvis Costello, as he is now, who's then called Declan Patrick McManus.
Have you got yourself an occupation?
We were in a club, and obviously the idea was that there was no better drink than our White's lemonade to quench your thirst in this hot atmosphere. And we were dressed up in T-shirts with the band name on, which was The Thirst.
I'm a secret lemonade drinker. Always, always. I'm a trying to give it up, but it's one of those nights. Always, always. Always lemonade.
I did more than one voice. I did the bit about the secret lemonade drinker, the Presley voice.
Always lemonade.
And when we rode out, I said to Declan, let's do it like the Beatles. So we did the Liverpool noise, because both of us have got a Liverpool background. And we did the, oh, whites, oh, whites, oh, whites, oh, whites.
Always lemonade.
Even as a kid, I always used to like the idea about White's Lemonade because it seemed like so non-corporate compared to, say, Coca-Cola or, you know, McDonald's, which were these huge multinationals. Our White's Lemonade, I never knew where that had come from. And who was R. White? And it always used to conjure up this idea of a bloke in his shed, you know, distilling it, while his wife would say, come on in now, R. White, your tea's ready.
I'm a secret lemonade drinker. Always,
Always. I'm trying to keep it up, but it's one of those nights. Always. Always lemonade. I'm a secret lemonade drinker. Always lemonade. Always lemonade.
The ad was running at a cinema, it prefixed a movie, and I hadn't seen it on the telly at that point, so I went to the cinema just to see the ad. Combined with the music, I mean, Marvin Gaye's Heard It Through the Grapevine, it just all sort of came together, this very kind of hormonal, sexy, pubescent dream for me, really. And I mean, Nick Cayman was just sex on legs. Pair of jeans that you didn't really need, suddenly they became a must-have item. And yeah, I mean, I only wanted them because Nick Cayman wore them. There wasn't really life after Levi's for Nick Cayman because he broke the golden rule. He talked. Totally demystified him. You know, him running around singing this rather rubbish pop song did so little for me, and it was like, next! See the look in your eyes, I know you're hurting inside. Let me try.
Soft. Smooth, luxurious, sensation of pure cream.
When the first ad came out, it was so different to any other ad that you saw on telly. The shock element at the end, I remember thinking what great ads they were.
By heck, you smell gorgeous tonight, pal.
It was a very sophisticated way of showing a northern drink, and it worked. I was modelling when I was first asked to be in the Boddingtons advert. I've been modelling for about 7, 8 years, I think it had been, and it was just like any other day. It was a request, a casting for a commercial, and I was up north doing a catalogue shoot, and I got the facts of the script for the ad, and I read it, and I just thought, this is so perfect for me.
The body is new.
It was a spoof on a Calvin Klein commercial. It was shot in Malibu in a huge house. And basically I had half-naked men walking around all day, these gorgeous models, and me in a white flowy dress. It was like a dream come true, and I just had a marvellous time.
If you think that's strong, Chuck, try lifting one of these. Hey, Tarquil, your trolleys aren't right way round.
And I knew something would happen to me once the advert was on because they'd been so high profile in the past. But I didn't quite know what, and I thought, you know, maybe it'll just be a few more modelling jobs. I didn't think for a second I would end up doing television.
Total amount of coffee drunk by the Big Breakfast team this year.
In cups?
Yeah, in cups. It's, yeah, it's done in pints.
It's done in pints.
Probably easier for you to work out. I know you're involved.
Do you want a flake in that, love?
Sound running when you're ready.
At 4, an example of a programme that started off on Channel 4 before being turned into a series of classic ads.
They're grotty and everything, but the Turpins seem to get a good side. They've got a big waterfall, big pools to play around in. There's lots of them there. They looked really happy.
The agency wanted just one locked-off shot showing a character chatting to an interviewer, basically.
Oh, it's good to come back into a warm flat after you've just done a run, and it's always nice to come into somewhere warm if you've been freezing to death outside on a 10-mile slog.
They weren't scripted at all. We just went out and looked for people who might be suitable, who were just very chatty. So I went to this guy called Frank. He'd lived in Bristol for about 20 years, and he comes from Bolton, I think, and he hadn't changed one minute iota of his accent at all, and just recorded him in his flat.
They should be sort of fairly modern in design, and they've got to be easily turned off and onable.
The family that actually owned the corner shop just down the street from the studio, we made them into penguins.
Yes, they are easy to clean. They're just wipe
over, and it looks like new.
It looks good. And
not like some of these other things, you know, that are just there to, you know, oh, this looks pretty in my kitchen. You know, it's there to do its job, and it does it well.
The only limitation was that they had to talk about electricity because everybody thought they were for gas, and that's perhaps the only failure of the adverts. So people still refer to them as the gas adverts.
You know, having grown up in Brazil with a lot of fruits and in a good climate, the temperature is very important. I wouldn't be able to sit on my chair if I'm shivering and feeling damp. That's when the electrical heating comes into the picture. It's like the last piece of the jigsaw. Well, it is. It's very comfortable, affordable, comfortably affordable.
Hello, Tony. I think we might use a video replay here.
Super, Ralph. Let's do that.
Oh, yes, we could be in for a quintessential tango taste sensation here.
It was meant to be taking a mickey out of other ads that were on the TV at the time, like the coffee ads that are out there and stuff like that. You have a drink and you go, ooh, whoopee, and flowers bloom. And we decided to express this in a really OTT fashion.
Why, yes!
It started with a punch in the mouth, funny enough, because we was trying to do it as kind of stupid and slapstick as possible. Then it moved to a kick up the arse for obvious reasons, and then for that it was still deemed as being too aggressive. So it went on to being a sort of Morecambe and Wise-esque little tap on the cheeks.
Why, yes!
The guy we used, he was like a Shakespearean actor. He was the one who made us laugh the most. We wanted someone who was obviously big and bold.
It's the way he moved as well. It was physically how he ran was just surreal.
It just illustrates the bite and buzz. Oh!
The guy that was being slapped, he was really good actually. Again, I thought he was a really good actor. And he was just the best at reacting to being hit. He never made a big deal out of it. A lot of the actors were like, oh God, I've been hit, you know, and he's just like, he just did it very cool and very kind of slightly dopey.
Let's look again!
It sparked a playground craze, and, you know, people used to go around sort of slapping each other saying, oh, you've been tangoed. And it was all very entertaining and great fun, and there was no problems until we got a phone call one day from a surgeon who said, look, I'm not, you know, the complaining type, but I thought you'd like to know that I did an operation on a child this morning with a perforated eardrum, and I was wheeling him into the operating theatre on the gurney and said to him, what happened to you then? And he said, I got tangoed, Gov. And, I mean, OK, it's funny, but we pulled the ad that afternoon. And what we did is changed it to the kiss, so instead the genie rushed up and planted a kiss on the bloke instead, which worked just as well.
You know when you've been tangoed.
What's the good of a beautiful banger without out chicken won't ring bells with a pile of something else if it's not out.
If an alien came from another planet and saw someone bothering to clean up a potato, peel it, boil it for 20 minutes, mash it all up, then put it on a plate, when they can just pour hot water on a powder and serve it, they think we were mad. And from that developed the script.
On your last trip, did you discover what the Earth people eat? They eat a great many of these. They peel them with their metal knives. Boil them for 20 of their minutes. then they smash them all to bits. They are clearly a most primitive people.
We were building the sets up on 6-foot rostrums with 3 puppeteers per Martian underneath with all these calipers.
Captain, something strange has appeared on the Earth scanner. Let me observe.
They moved pretty crudely with levers that went down through a platform. And underneath this platform were loads of blokes pulling levers which turned the head, lifted the arm or opened the mouth or swiveled the eyes around. It was all pretty crude, but it was part of their charm, I think, that they were crude.
After the day's labours, how nice to come home to the wife, a pair of slippers, and a plate of Cadbury's Smash.
The director at the time, Bob Brooks, was well known for being short-tempered, and he used to let fly at the Martians, saying, "What the hell are you doing at the back? Will you pay attention?"
All the puppets, the puppeteers, were taking the mick out of the direction, what have you, and the guy and they had all these puppets lying on their bed in their spaceship, all lying around, and they were sort of talking in American voices and doing jokes, and they started to make them laugh. That's great. We should do that. And that's how it happened.
For mash, get smash.
Well, we had this little gimmick of having the S drop down to mash, for mash, get smash, and we wanted a jingle to get it in people's heads. So we went off to see Cliff Adams, who was top jingle writer at the time.
And he said the idea is it's for mash, get smash. So do you think you can do anything musically? And I said, yes, I think so. I said, we could, for instance, I said, do something like...
Dang, 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 dang. It was perfect.
I said, no, John, that's not it. I was illustrating what we could do. And he said, no, I don't want any more. Just do that.
You know, in a millisecond, he'd done something which ran for 10 years. And he got money from it every time it played.
And then what better than to curl up satisfied in front of your favourite comedy programme?
And after peeling, boil for 20 minutes.
For mash, get smash.
Unlike the Duracell rabbit and the Goldblend couple, we've gone on and on and on for long enough now. In short, the end is nigh. I do hope you've enjoyed our starry odyssey, but if you're not completely satisfied, then do please return it in the original wrapper stating when and where you bought it. Remember, contents may settle during packaging, investments can go up and down, and that your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments. For full details, see last week's TV Times. In the meantime, we leave you with an ad that you obviously thought was good for you. The TV commercial that polled more votes than any other in our top 100. A classic? I should say so.
I suppose it's the equivalent of filming an avalanche. To be in front of an avalanche as an avalanche is careering towards you. It's that sensation, I'm sure. I mean, what we want to do is create something which is kind of emotionally arresting and visually arresting, and having just something quite epic and quite extraordinary to happen on a TV screen.
He waits. That's what he does.
We were just kind of inquisitive about how the product worked, and we didn't really understand about the weight. So we kind of went through a few bars and we kind of looked at the way they did it, and we actually timed it. We worked out that it takes 119.5 seconds to pour a pint of Guinness, or to pour and then wait for it to settle. So then we thought, that's quite interesting. Good things come to those who wait. Just like you have to wait for a pint of Guinness, you have to wait for a wave.
We had umpteen experts on the end of phone lines telling us where the waves were expected and where various sets were going to come in and on what shore. So it was unplannable as a shoot, really. You just had to be out there and wait until you knew where the surf was coming in that was going to be sizable enough to film. We didn't want the perfect face. We wanted people who looked like they'd genuinely wait for this extraordinary wave, and only they would know where it was going to come. The guy who stars in it, who's not really a very good surfer, he was very out of condition, which we liked. I mean, we found him under a palm tree on a beach, so we put him on 40-foot waves, and he would look terrifying.
A real Polynesian surfer waiting for the most amazing wave of his life, and that's what it is. And then it becomes what's in his mind's eye. The horses become symbolic because they become the experience of riding a 60-foot wave and what it is in his head.
We needed to shoot the horses in a certain way that obviously worked with the image underneath. You'd have jumps set up against blue, and you'd have these white horses jumping repeatedly over these fences, and you'd set your camera and your lens at a certain position, and hopefully the two pieces would composite together.
He waits. That's what he does. And I tell you what, tick followed tock, followed tick, followed tock, followed tick. Ahab says, I don't care who you are, here's to your dream. The old sailors returned to the bar. Here's to you, Ahab! And the fat drummer hit the beat with all his heart. Here's to waiting.
And the full results of the 100 greatest TV ads as voted for by you can be found at www.channel4.com.
Our lives are so much easier now.
I just don't know how we managed before.
The 100 Greatest TV Ads, sponsored by the Sunday Times.
Daisy.
Said. These Portuguese girls are very hard to train.
I'm poor and I hate it. I admit it.
Cat.
You really believe this 30-year-old guy is gonna leave his wife?
Jojo.
I can't do this with him staring at me.
I get really turned on just looking at his wrists.
3 Flights of Fancy. Ah! A real slice of life.
Mystic Pizza.
Starring Julia Roberts. Next Saturday at 9:05 on 4.
Next, Channel 4 hits the Ali G spot.
Some cars used to be such a waste of space. Nooks and crannies all over the shop. So those know-alls at Vauxhall thought, why not take all this useless space and make it useful? And by using computer technology, they believe their range of Vauxhall estates have done just that. And yes, they're very spacious, because inside here isn't. But look, still lots of room for improvement.
Vauxhall, raising the standard.
Many things can be measured, but the power of mighty men cannot be measured by a ruler. Thank you, Treeball.
Thinking of going digital? At Comet we've got just what you need.
Like this Panasonic digital camcorder for much sharper home videos.
Or this award-winning DVD player with amazing picture quality.
In fact, we're lowering prices on a great range of digital products. Lowering digital prices forever. That's Comet Sense.
Buy your glasses at Dolland & Aitchison and get a free pair of prescription sunglasses.
purpose.
Homebase are hammering down prices.
Hammer drills hammered.
We're hammering up to 25% off the price of all power drills. With prices hammered right around the store, you're better off at Homebase.
Since Brian has been working with DHL, everyone in the company is more relaxed. So his boss is more relaxed, as is his boss's dog, Colin. As Colin doesn't bark at night, the neighbours are more relaxed, and so are their families and their friends too. Everyone is more relaxed. DHL, we keep your promises.
Where the heck have you been?
Samantha, not now, there's a deal on.
There's always a deal on.
I know.
It's buy one, get one free. Buy one, get one free. And buy one, get one free.
So, will I see you tomorrow then?
No.
Right. That's it then.
Bye then.
Freedom and flexibility. That's what you can get with a Cheltenham and Gloucester mortgage. One thing we won't do is box you in. Call, click, or come into C&G or Lloyd's TSB. Cheltenham and Gloucester, looking after your best interests.
Game start. You've selected the new non-applicator tampon with silky outer cover and tapered tip from Tampax, designed for maximum comfort.
Style, fashion, trendy. Style, fashion.
I'll take comfort, thanks.
Stilettos, spikes, platforms. Stilettos, spikes, platforms.
Tampax, non-applicator for maximum comfort. The game never stops. Why should you?
This commercial is rated X. X for extreme protection. New extreme polishing wax from Turtle Wax stands up to everything nature can throw at it. X for extreme shine. Our breakthrough Trilicon formula gives you a rich, glossy shine. It's easy. X for extreme durability. No matter what the weather, this shine lasts and lasts. New extreme polishing wax from Turtle Wax. Now, bring back the color and shine with Safe Cut from Turtle Wax.
Critics are calling Boiler Room the year's first must-see movie. Sky's the limit. Spellbinding raves Rolling Stone.
We have an explosive situation.
The Wall Street of the new millennium.
Yes!
Explosive, seductive, intense. Ben Affleck has never been better.
Anybody who tells you money is the root of all evil doesn't have it.
Boiler Room.
Now's the time, now's the hour, now's the power.
You stay away from them.
You must invoke the spirit.
How have you been sleeping?
The Craft, Sunday at 10 on 4.
Now on 4 with adult humour and strong language, the voice of youth keeps it real.